Hello, Photography Essential folks. This is Miss Dugan, and I've decided to do a quick review of what we've gone over in class today on how to load our manual single lens reflex film-based camera. You can see I have my film here, I have my trusty Nikon FM2, and we're getting ready to put the film in so you can shoot your first assignment. As I found out from asking you folks in class today, a lot of you haven't used film before, and those of you that have pretty much have stuck with either point and shoot cameras, or you've also worked with the disposable cameras that come in the cardboard bodies. Those cameras don't even allow you to see the film. You just mail them off or drop them off at CVS and they do all the work for you. This little guy is going to ask you to do some work, and that's okay. You'll get the best pictures possible, and I promise, by the end of this course, you're going to be taking some great shots. So, the first thing we need to do is we need to open up our camera. And we do that by pulling up on our rewind knob. We talked about this in class. Now, this might be a slightly different setup from brand to brand. Most cameras tend to have this general setup. If this is not what your film-based camera looks like, or your setup on your camera is slightly different, perhaps as those on an Olympus, just let me know and we can go over in class at a later date if you happen to get a little confused or sidetracked. Anywho, so we start with our rewind knob, pulling back gently on the lock so that it comes up, and then we're going to give it an extra pull, and the back, you'll see, will pop open. Now, you want to make sure that the camera is empty. Any film that was in the camera at this point has now been exposed, and you're going to have to throw that out, which means any of your assignment that you've already shot on another roll of film is ruined, unfortunately. So, we take our roll of film, and what we're going to do is we are going to actually invert it or turn it upside down so that our film leader is on your right hand, your film canister is in your left hand, and the little knob, which is normally at the top, is now been flipped to the bottom. We're going to put that in the left-hand side of the camera, pushing down on your rewind knob. So it's going to look like this right now. We want to then take our film leader, that's this part of the film, that's what it's called, and pull gently across the camera body, taking care not to put our fingers anywhere near the shutter. As we talked about in class, if you ruin the shutter, put your finger through it or scratch it or misalign the blades, it's a very expensive fix, and a lot of times it's not worth to keep the camera to have that kind of fix. Alright, so we pull our film leader across, and then we're going to be tucking the end of our film leader into these little slots in your take-up spool. We'll then pull back on our advance lever and depress our shutter button. You should hear a click, and if the film is, as you can see, like it is here, you can actually see the shutter open and close very quickly. So now I'm going to advance my film, and you can see that it's starting to wrap its way around our take-up spool. I suggest that you advance at least twice, both while the camera is open and while the camera is closed, before you actually start your project. That way you can confirm that it's on the reel securely and that the film is being pulled across the shutter and it's loaded properly. So after we've confirmed it's loaded properly, we then close the back. Like I said, depress the shutter, pull the advance lever, press the shutter, pull the advance lever, and now you're ready to go. Now, a quick review of all the parts of the camera that we went over in class. So I already mentioned the shutter button, which makes the shutter open and close and allows the film to be exposed to light. This is, as I also mentioned, the advance lever. It's what pulls the film through the camera. We also talked about something called ASA or ISO. The film that I loaded into this camera right now is a film speed of 3200. it's a very fast film. We want to make sure that our ASA or ISO window is the same number as what's on the cartridge of the film. So we want to pull up gently on the ring. So I think you can see that on the video. And you want to spin the numbers in the ISO window right here until it says 3200. Now, if you're shooting with 400 speed film, you'd want to put 400 here. 800 speed film, you want to make sure 800 shows here, so on and so forth. Particularly, you want to make sure that number aligns with that little red dot or dash that usually shows up on the film speed window. In addition to the film speed, this is also your shutter speed. This controls how fast your shutter opens and closes. One helpful hint, you can see there's a red dash right there and the number 60. We don't want to go below a shutter speed of 60 or 1/60th of a second. It's just too slow to take a picture by hand. So we want to make sure that it's 60 or above, so 125, 250, 500. Those are fast enough that if we aren't using a tripod, we'll have great in-focus pictures that aren't blurry. The other two adjustments we talked about on the camera were both our focus ring, which is in the front, and our f-stop, which was in the back. Our f-stop controls the opening of the lens, and it also controls the amount of light that comes into your camera, thus hitting the film. How do you know how much light you need? That's what your light meter is. We look through our viewfinder, and our light meter will tell us if we have too much, not enough, or just right. And we adjust that, if you remember, as we discussed in class, through adjusting our shutter speed, which is how fast the shutter opens and closes, and the f-stop, which is how big the opening in the lens is. So, for your first assignment, make sure you load your camera correctly, make sure you have your shutter speed adjusted, your f-stop adjusted, and then snap away with that shutter button, advancing the film all along the way. Good luck!